I have
Karina, I do.
Vito, go ahead.
Who's making the final decision? At the end of the day, we all give our recommendations and our advisory opinions. Who's making the final decision?
On what are we speaking about now?
On any of these decisions, on either an extension or type of school, whose decision is it?
In 20, I have to say that they've taken our recommendations very seriously. They take input from the CEC. They take my input. They walk the walk with me. They walk the space with me. I think that was clear when they were very desperately trying to get District 75 seats in IS 62. And then by the end of the day, when school planning went in and did a sizing of the actual building and what was available, they saw that they couldn't possibly provide what was needed for a District 75 program after consulting with the District 75 superintendent. They do listen, Vito.
I understand they listen, ma'am, but so it's the final decision, school planning, school construction authority, or the chancellor himself?
It's a combination. It's a combination of all of those things. And then I want to say that we make the decision together. School planning and the superintendent's office has always made the decision together.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and the SCA. I don't want to leave them out.
School construction authority, thank you.
Right, right.
Right, and Vito, you are up next.
Thank you, Adele. Thank you, Superintendent. I appreciate you, all of your efforts. I want to touch on what Simeon had said previously, specifically about how we can kind of jigger the remote learning and who does more remote learning and who does less. Right. I agree 100% that the District 75 kids, or in our case, we have the ACES program, which I know you're familiar with them.
Yes.
They should have school every day, right? Our kids maybe with IEPs should have school every day. And I was in touch with some teachers who shared with me that they have children who were 99 and 100 students, and now they don't have the same structure and they're not doing very well at all. But on the flip side, there are probably children that this is no big deal. They can do it at home. The parents don't care if they do it at home. And I think if they wanted to and they would like to volunteer to do remote learning more often so that other children can do in-school learning more often, I think that that's a flexibility that we should have.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think it's a very valid point. And that's why, again, the survey is so important.
That survey option, there is a survey option where you can put one that you would like to learn at home all the time. It's one of the 3 options.
I'm also concerned with children who may have family members at home, elderly family members that have pre-existing conditions, that the parents may be afraid to send their kids to school because they'll bring something home to grandma and grandpa. That's a concern of mine as well.
And that's also addressed, I believe, on the survey. I know we discussed that today. There are so many variables that have to be taken into consideration. Don't forget, we're the largest school system in the country, and we have one of everything. So that's why, to get as much information as we can, to make thoughtful decisions, bringing in all stakeholders is going to be key to the success of this in September.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
We haven't seen it. What?
Oh, Simeon, did nobody see your resolution?
Yeah, we did. Vito, you commented on it. It was the Google Doc one. Is this a different resolution? It's the racism, anti-hate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the second one. Where's the third one?
What third?
So she said yeah.
Oh no,
I'm sorry.
It's not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda. Oh, I thought. I'm sorry. I didn't even see that. And I assumed we would be talking about both of these resolutions.
Yeah, it wasn't on the agenda, but you know, some people are stickler for that. So I just want to make sure this is as you like. So Simeon, would you like to take hold of it?
So I can take hold of the shared screen?
No, you have to go to your Google you'll go to your Google Doc, and since it's synchronous, we should be able to see the same thing.
So I need to share my screen of the Google Doc?
No, you just have to go into Google Doc.
Okay. I'm in Google Doc.
And now any edits, you want to scroll through, tell us what you see, what you want us to do.
Okay. So do you want me to read section by section and see if we have any issues? All right. Whereas our nation and community have been
Hold
rocked.
on, backing up. Are we putting something, what is our resolution stating at the top? As Ingo wrote a paragraph.
I don't know at the moment. I think we need to think about that, but I can draft something. But let's get through what the issues are and see if we can reach agreement on this first.
Okay?
All right. Do you want me to just read it, or do you want to just go straight to the issues?
Whatever you want, whatever anybody wants.
Can we have a,
Why
maybe,
don't we just go through, can I just suggest, why don't we just go through like the changes, right, that people made? Because a number of us have reviewed this. And so maybe we can like start that way, just, you know, paragraph by paragraph. I don't think you need to read it. We can all see it on the screen.
Okay. So the first paragraph basically says, you know, there are two recent events, the COVID virus and the George Floyd incident, that have raised the issues here. And then we had some discussion about, or amendments, whether we needed to add the First Amendment issues and protests being hijacked by those who destroy property and commit violence against people, et cetera. And then that was taken back out. So, you know, Vito, do you want to speak to this about why you think this needs to be added and whether or not we all agree that that needs to be added?
so we all agree, I hope, I certainly agree that George Floyd incident was a horror show. It was horrible. That cop was 100% in the wrong. There's no excuse for what he did, and on and on and on. I don't know any police officer anywhere that is supporting that officer, okay? That being said, and certainly people have a right to speak to different versions of police, of how we want to transition police and police conduct away from more enforcement to more a different type of policing, and that's certainly valid to speak to. But you can, I do not believe that you can speak to what happened with the George Floyd incident without also speaking to the protests, which are great, but they did devolve into looting and property damage, and specifically it diluted into it devolved in this city against attacks, attempted murder by firebombing of 4 New York City police officers. And I just say, the only thing I would ask is I can't believe that any kind of resolution that condemns violence would offend anybody. And I just don't understand that.
Well, I don't think we are not agreeing with you on that issue, but I think we are focusing this particular resolution on anti-racism issues and on that issue specifically around the education system that the CEC is responsible for. So that's why we're trying to keep, I didn't put that stuff in there. I mean, now you're opening it up to a whole number of other issues.
Can I say
Well,
something?
And I thought we were trying to very sort of like a laser focus on anti-racism here.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm looking for the hand up thing and I can't find it. So,
Hear you, Alan.
so I suggested to move that out because that added statement, it kills the resolution. It no longer becomes about what Simeon originally did and made it about, which is about anti-Black violence. We are diluting the very issue, the concern to which parents have expressed and the very spirit and intent of the resolution. So Simeon, I think, said it best. We're evading the issue at hand, which is anti-Black violence.
There is violence enough to go around. You say anti-Black violence. There is just too much violence.
Vito,
And George,
Vito, power's not distributed equally. You know that. You were a police officer. You were
Yeah.
given more power than others. This is about police killings of Black Americans, period. And that is what the resolution calls for. That is our mission. So if you don't like it, don't vote for it.
So can I just-
no, that's fine, but we're going
All
to
right,
discuss
all
it.
right, hold.
I'm just gonna ask a question only because I think we don't want to debate the point. I hope at this stage anyway, because it's just like we're in the first paragraph only. So Simeon, can I just ask, and I think this is where like when you have like the opening, like I had in the other resolutions, very helpful. Can we go to the end, like just so we can all see what is our ask at the end of the day? Because I think all the whereases are supposed to be like facts, you know, getting us to support what we're asking for. So let's just see what the ask is, and then maybe we can, get all our facts to support that.
Okay, so we had said that we
We
are
want more
calling.
culturally responsive and sustaining education, right? Implicit
So-
bias
So
training.
here's the list. So that we are calling on the District 20 Community Education Council, on District 20 district and school leaders to demonstrate more urgency around achievement gaps, culturally responsive and sustaining education, and implicit bias training for all district and school staff. Provide direction and resources to all District 20 schools to conduct concrete, age-appropriate lessons on anti-racism before the end of the school year. Somebody cut out, but I wanted to say also establish and clear and specific plans for implementing anti-racism, for the coming school year.
But isn't that the same as number 1?
No,
They're different.
no,
They're different.
No, provide direction. No, rather number 2. Isn't that the same as number 2?
No, one says by the end of this year to address what's going on. The other one just say have a plan for a larger anti-racism movement.
But didn't they say they already have it? This is the thing that what I wanted to be clear. Didn't they say they're already doing something? Have we made a clear understanding of what they're doing in the district?
I have not heard of any specific
Just said it just
anti-racism
now.
activity. She mentioned social emotional programs like Ruler and things like that. They also mentioned implicit bias training and that it was turnkey, which I have never heard about. So
No, but shouldn't we know what that is, though? In other words, before we say that
I think we've asked multiple times, Adele, and we've gotten no clear answer. And I think we should say what we want. And they can say, well, we've already done it, and we'll be happy with that then. But I feel like we've asked multiple times and don't have the answers we want. So.
Well, I heard Dr. O'Brien pretty clearly. Is somebody beeping?
Somebody is. All right. The other thing that we asked is creating committees at each school to look at disproportionality and achievement, attendance, program participation, and publish a public report. We talked about developing and disseminating resources to parents to help them talk with their children about racism and somebody added anti-Semitism, somebody took out and privilege. And then to review the curriculum used in District 20 schools, which is an issue that came up at our town hall, and concerns about that has come up repeatedly, I think, in the last year.
Okay. Yeah, no, this was helpful for me just so I can focus the point on all the whereas statements. Honestly, in the context of these asks, I'd be fine removing the mention of violence and physical attacks. I think it's a valid point, but I'd be fine without it as well. I'd be fine either way. Let's put it that way.
Well, they put in anti-Semitism, and of course,
yes, I put that in. I put that in. Though.
So the point was, we don't want to get off track. We're talking about only one thing.
Well, no, we're talking about
down a rabbit hole.
racism, right? We're talking about racism, and it takes many forms. I put in anti-Semitism only because there are different views on whether you view Judaism as a race or not. And actually, there was an executive order done this year because of increasing hate crimes against Jews, actually saying that any anti-Semitism will fall under Title, I think, 12 or whatnot, which actually is under the race, law. So that's why
Listen, Inga, I'll put it all in a laundry list. I mean, there's too much hatred and violence, okay? That's the point. But if you say anti-Semitism, we have to say anti-Islam or anti-Arabic or anti-Muslim.
But we say Asian discrimination, and the fact is that my understanding is that the Arabic population, per the way DOE defines them, fall under the Asian category. So I actually thought that was covered already. But if we feel it's not, then I'm fine with putting that in as well.
I think that when we focus on anti-Black racism, it helps us mitigate and address all of the other oppressions that may be similar, or there's nothing else similar, but that may emanate from anti-Black racism.
Yeah, so, but I'm going to argue that we have an Asian population that's been shown significant discrimination against them.
Right, but discriminations are not always the same, Adele.
But we haven't addressed the cultural discrimination that they've been facing. We haven't issued.
Racism. Look, racism is racism, regardless of what race it goes against, right? It's still
Yeah,
racism.
but once you
And
put
I mean, we
one
can't speak
particular,
for how people feel it, right? We feel what we feel when it's against us. It's hard for us to say, well, they feel it differently than this other group. Like, I don't, I'm not going to say that. I think everyone feels racism in a certain way, but I think we can all agree that it's there. And I think
Well, then can we
agree
focus
that we
on
want
just
this
racism and take out all the
to address
specific
it.
references to specific races? Would
We
everybody
need,
be cool
we
with
need to
that?
focus on anti-Black racism. That is what this is about. The current moment is about this.
well, how come we failed to address the current moment for anti-Semitic sentiments and for anti-Chinese sentiments that occurred? We failed in that. Just because we happen to be on, right here, and I appreciate that, Alan, but I'm trying to speak for our entire district and Muslim populations. There's so many inadequacies as far as representation of our cultures that to address one and ignore the others is also an injustice.
But why are we kitchen sinking everything? I mean, we can put out as many resolutions as we want about any number of issues if we can agree. So I think let's keep our resolutions specific, because I think they hold more water if we are addressing specific things.
Dina, thank you. Could we agree, possibly, if we just make this specifically about anti-Black racism, that we do another resolution about, violence and looting?
What about our Asian populations? Are we doing
We could do
resolutions about
three.
that?
Let's do three.
And what
Let's do
about our
three
Muslim
resolutions.
populations? Are we doing that?
Unless we want to do religious discrimination, we do racial discrimination, and we do violence against violence. Is that possible?
I think racial discrimination, because our district is very diverse, I think it should be racial discrimination.
I agree with Inga.
Yeah,
I think you address specifically anti-Black events that have occurred, which are atrocious. You specifically, without negating, and then it's within our context. We need to understand our population and what they have said about their experiences. We just had certain populations that have expressed the discrimination that they faced. Are we going to ignore that?
No one's saying ignore that. I just don't agree with Alan's point that by condemning violence, we somehow dilute anti-Black racism.
I think we're arguing two separate points.
I think what this moment is calling for is for a specific attention paid to anti-Black racism. That's what's happening in our country right now. So if we are writing this in response to what's happening in our country, then it should focus on that. If this was any other time in the calendar year, then, maybe we could group things together and it's just coming out of context and in a vacuum, but that is not what's happening right now. So either we're writing it in response to what's happening, and the call and the action that's happening is for specific attention to be paid to anti-Black racism. So if we're going to do it now and reference George Floyd, then we just have to do it for that, I think.
But we also have looting, rioting, and attacks on innocent people. That's happening right now as well.
How many votes do we need to pass a resolution?
6.
6? I think we have 6 votes. If we stick to Simeon's original, and it sounds like there's a collective sentiment that we just heard from Dina. I'm hearing it more so from Inga. I saw the thumbs up from Rob, that we want it to stick to the point of anti-Black racism.
But Inga was saying we should put anti-Semitism in there.
So do you want me to draft one that specifically?
So let's put it this way. The original resolution, which I thought was drafted very well, actually, has reference to the issues that happened with George Floyd, right, which is the impetus to all of this. And then it also focused on the Asian discrimination that we saw happen in this district. And I can tell you, because I at least am on certain email groups. Obviously I'm Jewish, of Jewish descent. There have been attacks on Jews also linked to coronavirus issues. Maybe they're not as vocal as others, but it's there. So, I kind of feel strongly that there's definitely, in terms of what we're asking the DOE to do, right? I think all of those items support the ask. I don't think just mentioning one changes the ask, right? Our ask will still be the same, which is like what we're looking at the screen, right? The ask that we're asking for is still the same, and adding those other points to reflect the diversity of this district and to also, in a way, identify that, look, we've seen a lot. With the first point being the incident that basically has spurred all of this focus now. I don't know, I just don't think it really dilutes the point, but that's me. Everyone reads things differently.
To Alan's point, if we just want to move to a vote, all I'm asking is for my 2 minutes, which I'm entitled to before we
I will
vote.
tell you, the one thing that I'm hard on is I don't want mention of that circulated red line draft letter.
Well, you put that in there. I just had divisiveness is not the issue.
I didn't put that in there.
I know.
As per circulated red line draft letter by Superintendent Costantino initially suggested.
I didn't put that in there.
I know.
I had a comment on that. I don't know what red line letter we're talking about, frankly. That was
what she had just explained.
No, I know, but like I didn't see the red line letter.
I know, I didn't either.
Can I speak to that?
Sure.
In the original letter, the term divisiveness has often been used by folks to both sides an issue, when clearly one, which is right now, right, anti-Black racism, right, police violence against Black Americans, and what it does is that it's when you say, when you use terms like that, it pretends that all sides are equal, that power is distributed equally, that everyone is guilty of something when clearly one group is being targeted. So that's why parents were really, really upset by the original draft that came out, because it didn't speak to the issue that is the persistent, police assassinations of people like George Floyd. So that is why.
So you wonder, that is such divisive language, and that is such triggering language, Alan. I'm sure you did that on purpose. There was no assassinations against police officers. Okay, police officers are not targeting people for assassination. One officer did something.
I think, and I will say this as we continue with our rhetoric, a member of our council has admitted that they feel intimidated by the what they feel is a bullying rhetoric. And I think when we're speaking to each other, we need to remember the civility that helps us helps us to work together. If you're looking for a platform to just say whatever and then not look to the sentiments of people who feel intimidated by this type of rhetoric, I'm just asking you to just be civil with each other. Okay, otherwise it's a very stressful situation for members of our council who have expressed that to me. So please be considerate.
Can I say something?
Who is that? Is that Maurizia?
Yeah.
Hi, Maurizia. Can you speak down to that language then again? I'm sorry, Simeon, I got lost. Where we were talking about with the red line letter?
Sorry, Maurizia wanted to say something?
Yes, and Maurizia, absolutely.
I'm going to say that if we're going to be using about discrimination, about what happened with the police and Mr. Floyd, I feel like Hispanic people were being discriminated too in some cases, and we put most races, not only stick to one race. So I don't agree with Alan.
Well, remember, Mauricia, that many Latinos are Black. So let's
not
ignore Afro.
Yeah, but you're just specifying for one race, and we should do for all the community, not only for one race.
Remember
so here, I'm sorry, that's my opinion. I'm sorry, it's my opinion. I don't agree with you. If we're gonna be talking about, we have to talk about all the races that are being discriminated. Hispanic, Chinese, Jewish, all of us at some point feel the discrimination. And I live in New York for 26 years and I know what I'm talking about. So I don't think so. It's for one race only. That was one incident, and most of the police officers are good officers. Not because of one incident, they're being judged, all of them. That's how I feel.
Mauricio,
So
it's not
thank
just one incident. This is something that's been recurring for a long time. So
Yes.
this incident is what brought us here, and I want to reiterate and kind of capitalize on what Dina said before. And a specific incident is what brought us here, and that's what we need to address.
Yeah, and I would like to address also the Hispanic, also to the Hispanic people. I represent I am Hispanic, so you are Hispanic, so we should put all the races, not just one. That's what I think. Okay.
Are we in
Thank
agreement that we would like to focus on the issues raised by the pandemic and by the George Floyd incident, and focus that on and getting to our asks, which are to focus on curriculum and implicit bias training, raising anti-racism in our schools? Can we get to an agreement on that?
I think we can use it as a launch point, but I think we are doing a disservice to our populations if we don't recognize the discrimination as Maurizio. We just walked over Maurizio.
So as far as process goes, to move us along, are you comfortable with me drafting something the same way Inga is going to draft the other resolution, sending it out and getting feedback from everybody, and then us trying to come together to see if we can get 6 votes to support it at our next meeting?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, I think, you heard our points. So.
There's a couple, there's one, I just highlighted 2 things that were unclear. And as I said, that red line draft letter, to hold somebody accountable for a letter that they didn't sign as a working draft, and to hold that up as what their intent was, I think that is also a disservice. I think if you're not fair-minded, you run the risk of railroading people who don't have an opportunity to defend themselves. Or in this case, who did say very clearly what had happened.
I concur.
Yeah, I also agree. I don't feel comfortable referencing that. It wasn't sent to everyone. I don't know. Like, I just don't know how valid it is. I haven't even seen it.
All right, I will draft something and send it to you and see what you all can get on board with.
So I'm also going to, I'm going to try to write something and I'll send it out. And I believe I have a right, if three members concur on a resolution, to bring it before the General Assembly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do something and I'll submit it, and whoever wants to. And all I want to say is condemning violence. It's really very simple. There's no reason that anyone should be against condemning violence in this world, and that's the only thing I want to say.
Anyone else?
I agree. I feel like it's a tragedy. I mean, what has happened to Mr. George Floyd, that's totally wrong. The police officer, like, there's like a law and order to put him accountable or responsible for that. But like, I'm with peaceful protesting, but like riot, looting, this is terrible. I mean, we should teach our kids not to be violent. I don't see why this should not be an issue that's being brought up.
Thank you.
Move on.
Yes, please. At this point, I've been hearing reports come back to me, and I don't know who's making these reports of the CEC being racist. CEC 20. It's such a disparaging thing to say when you don't know people individually who have come together to work for the good of their district, unpaid, and to throw those words around. And it's come back to me from at least 2 different individuals that these statements are being posted to social media. It's disparaging, it's slander. I take offense. and to dare to intonate that a person who you don't know is racist is the worst kind of vitriolic, unproductive rhetoric that should have no place in this district or in this city. It's a bullying tactic. And anyone who would like to say that, I will call out anybody who attempts to say things like that. It's just absolutely the worst type of bullying tactic. So I had to say that. It came to me again just now. I'm tired of it. Okay, that's not the point of this council. This council will achieve nothing if we don't learn to listen to everyone's differences, and if we don't learn to work together. Or you can yell at each other for the next year, but it's not a healthy place. It's not a healthy environment to be in. So please, everyone, please check your rhetoric before you say something.
So Adele, I'd just like to respond to that in the sense that I think that the movement that's erupted after George Floyd has been about the fact that there's not enough people checking their privilege. And a lot of people saying, I don't like people calling me racist, I don't like that. And they're saying it's time to stop and step back and look at your own privilege and stop complaining about being called racist all the time. And I'm concerned that we're going back down the same path again. Let me finish what I'm saying, please. That we're focusing again on the debates, the controversy, the divisiveness, the social media, et cetera, and we're not getting to the issues of actually changing ourselves and asking our district and our staff and our schools and our institutions to make fundamental changes of problems they have historically had and need to do better with.
So by calling individuals racist who you don't know personally, that serves something? And by calling them, stating that they have white privilege when you don't know them, that serves a purpose?
When you're saying that as an institution, as a body that has some power in this district.
Nobody's calling as an institution. They're calling individuals racist. It has become a mantra of individuals who want to.
Yeah, but it's distracting us from the work of focusing on the real issues.
No, it's not. I've been working, Simeon, I've been doing this work for 15 years. I mean, to tell me what I don't know about racism, I can tell you exactly what I know about racism.
Then let's do something and pass some resolutions.
Yeah, but you can do that without calling people racist, without calling populations racist. And it's not just whites. You're calling anyone who disagrees with the particular rhetoric, you're calling them racist. Okay? But calling somebody who says that screen schools, anyone who supports screen schools is racist? Is that a legitimate statement to be made?
Is that a response to me, Adele? Because
I have no idea where that came from. Did you say it, Alan?
No, but is that because I responded to that letter that the five folks had sent out?
That has nothing to do. I did not hear that from you, Alan. I heard that from somebody who actually said it to me. So
someone told you that.
And it was not linked to your name, Alan. I'm sorry you're calling yourself out on that.
No, I'm not. I responded.
That's fine. But Alan, hang on. No, I was speaking. And what I am saying is just because somebody differs in their opinion, just because a population believes, and mind you, a population that is impoverished believes that their best opportunity for the education they want for their children is to go to a screen school, you can't argue with them. It's their choice. It's their choice. It's not racist. It is their cultural preference.
No, it's not a cultural preference.
It's not white privilege.
Can I respond?
So I don't want to derail the conversation. I kind of do. I kind of want to get back on the agenda if we can. Not that this isn't an important conversation, but I think we're all working on the resolution that we just went through, and Simeon's obviously going to put something together for us to review. I guess, Adele, you're just raising, your personal experience.
Yeah, and I'm saying do not disparage my reputation. Yeah, do not in any sense disparage my reputation. Do not ever intonate anything that suggests that I'm not working for the good of this district and for the good of my students. Okay, because that is absolute dangerous territory. Okay, because
and excuse me, we're not following protocol. Can we at least have a system in place where we raise our hand, we get 1 minute or we get 30 seconds?
Absolutely.
Because we all have a right to speak. And
Let's
Simeon
finish-
raised a point that I would like to address.
Okay, let's finish the business and then we can talk, although we have to go into executive session as well.
Well, I think we do, but I mean, if I will be brief. So,
That's fine.
So part of the problem is we mentioned white privilege, and there's a book, White Fragility, that we're assuming that everybody is buying into the talking points in white fragility and white privilege, and that is not something that everybody agrees with, and that's what the issue is. And we should be able to agree that we have to address systematic problems, but without targeting people of European descent. I'm done. Thank you.